All right. Welcome to another episode of HollerCast. Oh, man, these are good.
It's snack time again.
Yeah.
Brought to you by
Southern Ridge Cafe.
Oh, man. Welcome in. We've got Harley and John Masters. Thank you for hanging out. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the cookies.
Inviting us.
Yeah, we've been trying to get you in here for a while, Harley.
I know, I'm a busy lady.
You are. You definitely are. You definitely are. Well, I guess we wanted to start out, first of all, wanted to highlight the Mountaineer Festival that you got coming up.
Yes, it is coming up. So this is going to be year number 5. So I expect to see all 3 of you gentlemen participating in the Mighty Mountaineer Challenge.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So each year we kind of switch it up a little bit. Usually we throw something. So I believe the first year we did a hay bale toss. The second year we done a skillet sling. Last year we done a horseshoe sling. And so I'm missing one. What else have we thrown? Something. This year we're going to chuck pumpkins, so.
Oh, sweet.
Pumpkin junkin'.
We're gonna,
So are we just going for raw distance? Is that what we're doing?
yes. And
Nice.
so,
Nice.
so that's like the biggest highlight. Everybody really enjoys that. But the log chop is always very interesting. And then the axe throwing and
There's always a
the fire.
competition. So we have a couple staples: the fire starting and the log chop are the two for me, the big ones.
Can you start a fire? Can you start a...
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
What's the
I
date?
never could get the hang of that.
What's the dates and times?
So October the 20th and 21st. And they're both days are going to be from 10 to 5. But the Mountaineer Challenge is on that Saturday. So.
Gotcha.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
So,
How many people participate typically in like the log chopping, for instance?
So it's a multi-part competition. So if you enter, you've got to do all.
Gotcha. Okay.
Each event is scored based on first, second, third position.
Okay.
And you get allotted points for that, and you're going for total points over all the challenges. So typically we'll have, I think, we had 7.
I think 7 or 8 last year.
The first year we had a bunch. We had like 15 almost. I think it was quite a few. But it's varied.
We had a guy from the coast come, and so I don't know if he's coming back to try to take the title home.
oh, really? Come back
Wow.
to defend the championship,
Yes,
huh?
he got second.
Take it home.
No,
Take it home.
John won.
I hear you.
Yeah.
The reigning man.
There you go.
Finished second the year before that. Eric Wiseman got a second radio. Harley cut my feet out from under me. Then I won point on the retro.
So remind me where we're at with this? Like where location?
So along the creek walk in Bakersville. So we typically run the vendors and the food and the music and all of that near the pavilion area, and then we run it all the way down towards the fire department.
Oh, nice. Cool. So one thing I'd seen, and I know the Historical Society did a talk on this, is that Sam Brinkley beard contest.
Yes.
We were talking about that before this. What a great concept. So for those of you who don't know, there was a gentleman, you can go, the Historical Society has some stuff about this on their website, but he, you know the story? You probably know it better than I do, don't you?
No, you can tell it better.
Okay. Well, it was this guy that lived, correct me if I'm wrong, was it in Beulah? Yeah, down the area. So this is right around the turn of the century at some point. But this guy apparently had a beard that grew like to
Guinness
the point.
Book World Records.
Yeah, it was like a Guinness Book of World Records beard. He would have to shave like 3 times a day when he was younger.
Yep.
And so finally he just said, screw it, I'm letting it go. And what happened was it got basically all the way to the floor. So,
Wow.
So the Historical Society did a talk about this, David, and actually had some other podcast guys in there in the Beulah Community Center down there, the old school. But I thought I really wanted to get down there for that, but I couldn't out of prior engagement. But you're incorporating that into the festival, right?
Yes, we are. So
Gotcha.
that's one of our new events this year. And so we always like to feature history of Mitchell County in the festival. So that's what we're kind of focusing on this year. And then we do have another new event. So if any of you guys have a pet, we're going to do a big fundraiser for MCAR. So we're doing a pet pageant. All of the proceeds, entry fees, sponsorships, all of that's going to go to MCAR. So
Nice.
So far we have a goat, a dog, and a hamster.
Nice.
So it's going to be really interesting.
Can I bring my Cobra?
As long as it's not around me. I told Chase that I was a little nervous, but as long as you didn't pull the snakes out and make me like be in the same room, that I would be good.
I told her when we were talking about this, I was like, no, I'll share you. They're in a separate building.
Yeah, they are.
It's sealed. It's I've said it before, Josh. If you're gonna have venomous snakes, Josh does it right for sure.
Yeah, I'm still alive.
Yeah,
You know
you
what
are.
though?
It's
We
a
should
way to stay in shape.
we should rig up behind the couch there. You pull a string and it just
Yes,
a
we
snake
absolutely
slowly.
should.
We need to rig that up.
I'll tell you, you are
Come
not
on
the
on.
only one that was like, as long as where are them snakes? At? That's what they ask me every time.
Everybody asks that. I ask that on a regular. Where's my snake? No, I'm just kidding.
So
I
it's
don't
different.
ever ask that.
So
I
the
know where they're
competition is open to just any pets, right? So nice.
Any pets. So I'm very curious to see what all gets entered.
Oh, that's cool.
So we
That'll
do-
bring out some interesting entrants, I'm sure.
We do
Let's
have-
just make sure that they're actually not human. They're actually animals. Please don't bring ugly uncles or husbands or anything. They're not allowed.
Did you see that Japanese guy that turned into a corgi? Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's.
I wonder if we got any of those in Mitchell County. John can probably answer that.
Yeah. Let's just redact that question.
So can I ask you a question? So well, I'm sorry, I know we want to go back to the Mountaineer Festival. I've been wanting to ask somebody about this because I know you're a county commissioner, not to put you on the spot or anything. So like the Mitchell County Animal Rescue,
Yes.
I know that it, my understanding is that Avery County's like, is amazing. Well, I've been up there. It is pretty amazing. And I know part of it's like privately funded. What can be done to like help expand their thing? I mean, how much is the county government and town and all that, how much is it involved in funding that? Because I know this is a big push.
Well, Avery County doesn't have a county shelter. The one up there is solely private.
Oh, gotcha.
So
Okay. I did
that's
not know
not
that.
a county one.
Gotcha.
I don't know what they're doing right now. That's a question for Philip, their county manager. I don't really know what they're doing with it. I know that Alan and Amber have been in discussion about our needs for our animal shelter. So I think they're working on a long range goal to obtain that. So that's
I wonder
very
if
exciting.
I wonder if anybody's ever reached out to like some of the mines and stuff about it. That seems like something that would be.
It's always the easiest region
Yeah.
to go to. I'm sure at some point someone has. I think that in my opinion, there's a need for an animal control officer in the county.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
But
I know you guys got labor problems already.
I can talk to that a little bit. We actually have 3 deputies that have as part of their assignments, they deal with animal complaint calls.
Mic real close to
They
you.
deal with animal complaint calls. So generally what that entails is like animal cruelty investigation.
Gotcha.
But they are also still tasked with their normal day-to-day activities
Gotcha.
for the sheriff's office. So, but we do a fairly good job of handling it.
Mhm.
Animal shelter and the sheriff's office cooperate really well together.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
The amount, is it just me, or do I see every single day somebody's pets are loose?
Every day.
Somebody's cows in the road. They got a goat on a car or something. It's every day I see stuff like that around here.
snake
Am I
in my
wrong? Is it
boot.
just me? Huh?
There's a snake in my boot.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot of that. And I know the animal shelter, desperately needs, volunteers and stuff like that.
I think it's twofold. I mean, we see it every day, but also it's easier for us to see everything every day because
Right.
people post
True.
everything.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I know that walking home from school for me as a kid was a hazard because everybody's dogs were loose
Yeah.
and none of them liked me. But that's always kind of been a thing. I mean, historically around here, folks never had their pets were treated different though 30 years ago, and I think a lot of that mentality has kind of changed in the culture, but not so much here.
Well, and so many people get them and then are not prepared for the responsibility.
Believe me,
of
there's
what it
a
is.
ton of
Yeah.
neglect.
Yeah.
Ton of neglect. We've all heard those horror stories when they hit his hands over the past decade or so, but anyway, we digress on that.
Well,
Yeah.
while we're talking about
Yeah.
that, they are doing free adoptions this weekend. So
Oh, nice. Good deal.
Friday and Saturday at the Mitchell County Animal Rescue. So everybody that wants to be a responsible pet owner, go get you a pet.
And I will stress, all three of my dogs are rescues. All three of them are from the animal shelter, and one of them was rescued, put in the animal shelter. No one claimed that we took ownership of it, right? So I don't see how people go to breeders.
Right.
For me, this is me personally. Everybody's got their own thing. I don't see how people go to breeders when there's literally thousands and thousands
I know.
within an hour drive of us, animals in need.
Yeah.
Well, everybody wants that designer pup, I guess.
That was me. I did.
Yeah. Hey, I understand it. I get it. I get it.
as I said, it's
And there's a
everybody's
lot
own
of people
thing.
that do, a lot of breeders that do great job. But, I just took one. Well, I didn't take one, but I was involved. One of my homeowners that I'm doing work for, a lab Shar-Pei. I posted it on my Facebook, but it's like cute little lab Shar-Pei mix. Like just showed up, friendly as all get out, nails trimmed, and they kept it for a day, checked it for the microchip, and then ended up taking it to the shelter. But they said they'd got reports that dog came all the way from Crabtree.
Wow.
From way up Crabtree to all the way to Little Switzerland, him and this other dog. It was kind of the same. But
Well, I would encourage anyone looking for a pet to your efforts with the Mitchell
Yeah.
County Animal Rescue. Look at the Animal
Yeah.
Rescue first. Give it a shot. I mean,
there's a great little Shar-Pei lab mix up there.
It's
And
adorable.
he's super duper, or she's super duper friendly.
do they still
Super
do the Pet of the Week in the newspaper? Do you know?
I've not noticed it in a while.
I'm not either.
So
All right, well, let's talk a little bit. Let's wrap up about the Mountaineer Festival. What else is going on? What other competitions you got? You got anything for like baking and stuff?
Well, the Bakersville Area Merchants Association is going to do a chili and a cornbread cook-off. So they done that last year as a fundraiser, and they're doing it again this year. So all of these details can be found on our Facebook page or email, or just reach out to me and I can get you the information.
What is the Facebook page for our audience?
The North Carolina Mountaineer Festival.
Gotcha.
NC Mountaineer Festival.
That
I
is
found it today.
correct. We do have some local bands playing as far as music.
Who's
and-
playing? Do you know
Well,
off the
right
top of
now
your
we
head?
just have Rhonda Gooch because she just got an award.
She
very
did.
Big award, and
She
so we're going
did.
to make sure that we recognize her on Saturday.
Awesome.
Oh, really?
She did.
Yeah, she's state recognized. I mean, she got a big.
Good for
big
her.
deal.
It's
She's
about
phenomenal.
And so then also Clayton Roberts. I don't know if you've heard of his family's band, but it's High Mountain Grass. They're going to be playing. And so I'm not really over the music part. I've got too many other duties, so I have delegated that to somebody else.
I understand.
So I'm looking forward to see what other bands we get.
Okay.
The Historical Society will be making apple butter both days, Friday and Saturday, and they do peel the apples, cook those down, so they make it all from scratch. So if you've never got to experience that, that is very...
Ooh, I love some apple butter.
I do too.
Man, give me a cat head biscuit with some apple butter any day of the week. Come on. I
That's
love
good
that.
stuff.
So,
Love it, love it.
we do plan to have a lot of live demonstrations on teaching kids how to make fire, which I don't know if their parents will be that happy about that. We're
Teach them
gonna-
to make it teaches them to respect it.
Yeah, that's true.
So, teaching them how to throw some axes.
That's cool.
A few other things for kids. We're going to have some animals there because kids always love to pet the goats or the cows or whatever. Let's see what else we've got. The arts and craft vendors, which isn't obvious. Food trucks, music. What else, John? What else have I forgot?
You're doing a fairly good job of wrapping
You'll
up.
say that's a lot of stuff
So-
right there.
Yeah.
It's a good time. I encourage anybody that just wants to have a good day and enjoy and spend some time with your fellow Mitchell County folks, come on down.
Well, I think we're seeing that. I mean, the live events that have been going on around here have really,
This year's really been.
it's been really good.
Really good.
Really, really good.
Knock on wood, everybody's had good weather so
Yeah.
far for their
We
events.
had Mineral and
so.
Gin Festival. That happened since the last time we were together. Went really well.
I was going to ask if anybody heard. I didn't make it down there. I was out of
didn't
town.
make it down
There
there.
was a
either.
lot of people,
I heard
buddy.
it slammed.
And it was so good. Let me tell you how awesome it was to see that festival back in that
I was
building.
going to say to see
Right,
life back in
right.
Pine Bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, that was one of
Or
those
the
things.
Three
I
Peaks
grew
Center.
up. I grew up
I did
there,
too.
and I remember every year going down to that. It was like a blast from the past to me, and I forgot how freaking huge that building is.
Dude, it's massive.
It is a monster building. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's neat.
Yeah, it
I was
really
glad
good.
to see it go back there. Back in 1987, I think, or 88 was the 30th anniversary, and I designed a stamp and postmark for the festival, and every piece of mail that went on a spruce pine had that stamp on it that I created when I was a kid.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I've been promoting Mitchell County since I was a little bit. I've always been in marketing. I just didn't know it yet. Dad's got a picture of me in front of the what was the rink there, holding some big giant piece of quartz that's out at the Mineral Museum they had down there. I'll have to bring that up sometime.
Well, Josh, do we need to take this? We can throw it to a sponsor thing for a minute if you want to try to look for that condenser box. 'Cause we're getting
Yes.
saying John's mic's
I
really
know.
low, so
I know. It
we're
is.
trying to accommodate another person in the studio tonight. So
Yeah, and I will make arrangements
Yeah.
for there to be a permanent fixture in here when we want to have another guest. 'Cause
Gotcha.
We can do this more often. But yes, we'll have a word from our sponsors. But before we do, shop HollerCast.com for all your HollerCast merch needs. We have tumblers, we have shorts, we have hoodies, everything. We have everything you can
did
think
you get
of.
the hoodies and stuff in yet, or did we order those?
I didn't order any hoodies, just t-shirts.
Okay,
But I will.
Just tees.
I will.
I don't know, and I don't know what's happened to my T-shirt. It's disappeared into the ether.
Somebody took
Yeah, the dryer ate it.
Yeah, shophollercast.com. Used code HollerCast to get 10% off your order. And we will throw it over to our sponsors right now.
This episode of HollerCast is brought to you by Big Al's Pack and Ship. Located off Roan Road in downtown Spruce Pine, right next to Webb Funeral Home, Big Al's is your full-service shipping solution, shipping out UPS, FedEx, as well as DHL. In addition to shipping services, Big Al also offers copy and fax support, notary public services, and is Spruce Pine's go-to source for U-Haul truck and trailer rental. If you're looking to ship out a package, mention promo code HollerCast at checkout to receive 5% off. Again, that's promo code HollerCast to receive 5% off shipping services. Big Al's Pack and Ship. Make ship happen. This episode of HollerCast is sponsored by Moondust Lounge, Spruce Pine's only dedicated bar room and live music venue. Located at 116 Oak Avenue downtown, Moondust Lounge offers a variety of fun activities for all ages, including weekly karaoke, dance parties, and live music of all genres. Find Moondust Lounge on Instagram or Facebook for a full listing of the week's activities and mention promo code HollerCast at the bar for 50% off your first beverage. Again, that's promo code HollerCast at the bar for 50% off your first beverage. Moondust Lounge. Get dusted.
And we're back. And we have a new microphone on John so everybody can hear him. So sorry about that, everybody. So these Shure SM7Bs that I use down here in the podcast studio require a gain booster because they're very, very quiet little quite big microphones, but they're very quiet, so they require a gain booster. I have several, and I've misplaced all of them that aren't in use. I don't know where they're at. But we got him a new microphone. So, John, welcome back.
Oh, good. Just so everyone knows, I was not being censored.
We're canceling John.
This is not cancel culture. I've been treated well.
Good. Well, John,
Thank you for reading the script.
Don't blink. I'm just kidding.
well, while you're the subject here, why don't you tell us what you are, what you do for a living, what you are. Tell us what you are, John. What the hell is wrong with you?
I am a narcotics detective here from Mitchell County. I'm one of two. We stay fairly busy, as I was talking to you guys about a little earlier here. It's an odd time here in Mitchell County. We have quite a bit of narcotics moving in and around our county. So.
And I can't imagine we're the only ones in that boat either, right? It's a nationwide problem.
We're still much smaller than everybody else.
That's
As far as
encouraging.
Quantities, McDowell off the mountain getting pounds pretty regularly. We're still getting in the ounces, and thankfully that's all we're really dealing with now. But
Right.
Is there a most concerning drug in town right now?
fentanyl is still going to be
Still
the
the
most
leader.
the larger of our concerns. Now, it's by far and away not the most common drug we find.
That's good to hear.
Meth is
Still the
has
leader.
been and will always be king.
Yeah, because of cost and availability and ease of manufacture, transport, all that.
So is there any truth? I've always heard that, in particular, Asheville is kind of a crossroads because you got the meeting of a couple major interstates, 40 and all that stuff. I've always heard that Asheville's kind of a, I don't know if you'd call it a hub or whatnot. Is there truth to that? Because, and then you draw, line the East Coast between New York and Miami, it's pretty much in the middle, right?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Things flow from Asheville then down into Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta is a larger hub, but it's more populated.
Gotcha.
But Asheville, for Western North Carolina, is kind of the tippy top as far as criminal activity and
Gotcha.
narcotics.
Gotcha. So what other, just in terms of, what are some, I know I heard you talking about something earlier that we had never, it was like a cousin to meth. Is it?
Fentanyl. So you've got a lot of different fentanyl analogs, sub-analogs. Xylazine is the newer of those that we're running into. Xylazine's kind of tricky because we don't even have the test kits to test for it right now.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, so if we're getting some opiate-based drugs and our test kits do some hinky things when we touch the xylazine, it shows up for a couple of different things. So then we send it off to the state lab and they come back with a good quantitative analysis on it.
Dang, man. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what it's like to see that sort of underbelly of a community,
It is. People get it in a bad way. Everybody using drugs, not necessarily bad people. They just make bad choices.
Sure.
And
Sure.
there's a point with some of these things that you're no longer driving the bus, and I recognize that. My goal, and I think most narcotic officers' goals, is to try to cut the legs out from under the larger overarching business of selling those drugs to these people, rather than just trying to continuously mash down someone that's struggling already.
So do you find that is it still a situation where, your people that are trafficking bigger amounts of it, are they not users?
Oh no, they're still using.
They're still using? Okay.
Yeah, we don't have people here that I'm aware of. If they are, they're very well hidden.
Right.
People that are distributing that don't use. Most your average person that's selling narcotics here buys enough that they can sell some and then cover the cost of their
Right. So it's
products
one of
that they
those
use.
deals. Yeah.
You have a few that bring in quite a bit. We knocked one off about in March of this year. That worked out, and that kind of slowed our stuff down for a bit. That was a larger importer. They were bringing up, 8-9 ounces at a time.
Gotcha.
And then turn around and selling that, but that was going fairly quick, and we were finding pretty large quantities on everybody then. So
in what capacity do we have, in Mitchell County, what do you do besides obviously jailing somebody like that and going through are there treatment facilities that are available for people like that specifically for those?
So there's not really any inpatient treatment facilities here in Mitchell County. If you're going for
Do we need one?
I don't know that we have the number of people to support what that would have to be.
Gotcha.
We do have a lot of community-based organizations that help deal with that. You've got Celebrate Recovery.
Sure.
From Mitchell County.
Yeah, Never Too Scarred. There's several different organizations that do a really good job. They do great work trying to help some of these people get on the right track and stay on the right track. We also have Drug Court, which is county funded, and that to a degree holds people a little more to account. Everything has its issues. Nothing's been perfect, but it's a complex problem that requires a very complex solution.
So what's the difference between like drug court and just regular?
Drug court, typically they're more so trying to encourage these people to do better. So it's more of an uplifting ordeal from what I've seen.
Right.
In my position, they don't really bring us into drug court. We're the narcotics officers, but we're kind of on the fringe. We put people there, but they don't ask us to come in there because we're not well received by the folks that are going there.
Right.
It's kind of the boogeyman.
Right.
So
it's kind of one of those things, sort of trying to encourage people to get their life together rather than just throwing them in jail and
because it's expensive to keep people up, and it just in the end you just get people that come back that are more ready to commit crime and learned a little more while they're there.
Sure. So I know what I'd ask you earlier, and I thought it was because I had this discussion even recently with people. Like, I'd always heard that like the cartels and stuff were a thing here. Is there any truth to that?
To some degree, it's not what you would think. We had some Hispanic-based gangs earlier in my career. I started in 2013. It's kind of worked its way through different phases. Right now, as I was telling you earlier, we have vice lords. They have a presence here. Not a great presence, but it's kind of something that spills into us from Eastern Tennessee, and then works over into McDowell, Marion, and we're kind of a bleed through area. But they're a pretty violent bunch of dudes.
And vice lords, are those is that a white supremacist type of thing, or is it?
Not really. They're a bunch of young punks that got face tattoos like Post Malone and decided they one day were gonna play Grand Theft Auto in the real world, and they rolled out and have pretty well done that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's an odd group, but we've dealt with them to some degree.
Well, it's interesting. Sometimes youth, they can think it's cool to act like they're in a gang, pretend like they're in a gang. Then suddenly they start doing things that is gang-like, and then they actually are a gang.
Yeah.
It happens in small communities everywhere. It starts as an attention thing, and then it becomes breaking into houses or whatever, and it just escalates. So
gang mentality has fascinated me anyway. Like, it makes absolutely no sense to me.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's, looking for something to belong to,
I'd say, large part of it is.
And then, you it's like you get into a friend group with a bunch of people, and you're all of a sudden you're the talk of the town, and you've got the attention on you, and, then you feel like you're a part of something, and then it's just metastasizes from there.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, looking for some stability, I think, is typically what people are doing when they look into these groups. So
yeah, they're fear driven. People have a lot of fear, and they're looking for somebody to make them not be afraid, and then they want people to fear them.
Right.
Kind of typically how that works. The bully becomes the bully.
Right.
Yeah. And one thing I wanted to get you guys in here just because we don't have a whole lot of people from that end of the county either. And you said one good thing you did tell me while we were talking about this earlier is that a lot of that stuff on that end of the county, a lot of the drugs are not nearly as prevalent as they used to be. Because I know Beulah Dean used to be, back when I was coming up, that was where you went to do all your vices.
Yeah. They've got their own hotbeds there. There's areas that have problems. But as a whole, the north end of the county seems to be a little quieter. But it's more population-based.
Right, sure.
3/4 of your population resides within 5 miles of Spruce Pine. So everything else is much less densely populated, and we're having to work a lot harder to get into those.
Sure,
areas.
sure. Absolutely.
Has the population shifted on, at that end of the county? Has it shifted to where that's more summer homes and things in that end of the county too?
I don't think
What's
so.
your all's opinion on that?
I don't know. There's been there's a lot of properties that weren't being occupied that have been purchased.
Gotcha.
Through COVID, it drove our property tax rates up, or values at least, not necessarily rates.
The reason I asked that is, that's what the answer that I anticipated, because our community used to be the majority of the people were part-timers, as we called them. It's flipped. The majority of our community is now full-timers. And during COVID, the people that abandoned the cities looking for a calmer, quieter way of life occupied rural America, and I think we're seeing that all over the county.
Yeah. Try to find somebody. Try to find somebody to come work on something right now. They're all booked up for months.
Mm-hmm. Everybody's renovating everything they just bought.
That's a good thing, but it's it signifies a shift. I think you've still not seen it settle yet either. That's the other thing, is it's still going on, and it still was what was sparked by COVID. That population shift that you see from the cities and all that stuff is really going to probably start to really settle in the next couple years, because people are making, I know a lot of people that I work with, they're making preparations to move because they're either near retirement age,
Right.
or just need some time to close out a career or do whatever they're doing, and then they're moving here full time. So a lot of it, even what I see now, is people that intend to come here full time.
I agree.
And are just not there yet.
I'm seeing that everywhere too. Have you ever flown into Vegas before?
Oh yeah.
So when you're flying into Vegas, you just see rooftops everywhere you go, all those subdivisions. I just flew into Bentonville, Arkansas, which is middle of nowhere. The only thing that's there is Walmart. Their population's increased like 300% in the past 3 years. And when you fly in, all you see is rooftops for miles before you even see this little tiny runway in a cornfield.
Right.
Yeah, and the runway is about the size of Tri-Cities Airport, much larger airport, but not much larger, a little bit larger. It's bigger than Asheville. But people are still leaving the cities in mass. And as you said, it's not. It has slowed, but it's not stopped.
Harley, do you have any indication? I know because you're involved in all this budget stuff and all that. Since because I know they took the census was done right in the middle of COVID. I'm really curious to see where we're at now. Do you have any sense of any of that? Scoot that mic up close to you.
No, I don't.
Okay.
There's we haven't really got any statistics on that yet.
I got you.
So.
Interesting.
While we're on it, can you tell us anything about the Tourism Development Authority, the TDA?
I can tell you a little bit about it. So there should be stuff coming out. The board has finalized the logo. The website is in the works.
Okay.
They got that live. There's been a few publications out in magazines and stuff.
Okay.
And so advertised and done an interview for a TDA director.
Oh,
And
nice.
so we'll see if the board thinks that's a good fit for the candidate and for the board. So all in all, it's not been active over a year yet. It's been close to a year, but not yet. But I don't think people realize how hard it is to start something from nothing.
Right.
We didn't have anything. We started brand new with bylaws, and you have to follow general statutes, and so all of that.
Okay.
So there's just a little bit about it, but at a later time, once we get a director, I would love for them to come and talk a little bit about what they're doing.
Sure,
what they're going
absolutely.
and all
Yeah,
of
that'd be
that.
great.
I for one love the idea of starting something from scratch.
Yeah.
I think we ought to do that with a lot of stuff. Honestly, just scrap whatever we got and start all over again. I think it's time for new, fresh ideas, and I think instead of trying to fit whatever you're trying to do around an old, antiquated thing, I like the idea of starting new. I love it.
Yep.
Fresh slate. Yep. Let's do it the right way this time. So
I really entertained for a minute. I know they were looking for an interim director for that TDA, and I just don't have the time. But I was really, really thoughtful about trying out for that for a minute, but I couldn't devote the time to it would need. But I hope they find somebody good. I know that hopefully there's some good candidates out there, because that is a critical position to moving things forward faster, I will say. And I hope that the intent of that person unifies the efforts of all the little groups and everywhere to start, like, talking to one another. Because you got the chamber, you got the Main Street, then you got Bakersville doing their thing. You got the county commissioners, you got the town of Spruce Pine. I hope that they do some coordination, because there's a lot of stuff in motion that this group doesn't know that this group's doing. Yes. And I ran into that immediately just doing some exploration, that a lot of times people are stepping on each other's toes and they didn't know it.
Right.
And if they would communicate better, things wouldn't overlap. Yeah, for sure.
So the Tourism Development Authority, does that kind of encompass all of those type of things underneath it?
It basically drives the tourism for the county and the marketing and all of that, and the current TDA member board, the board that the county commissioners had appointed, they have been working very, very hard, and they want to see all of the things that Jimmy's talking about come to fruition.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy with this board, and they've done a lot of hard work.
I agree. I'm excited.
Well, I'm glad that that it's becoming, I feel like everybody's beginning to see the need. And I've said this ad nauseum, but everybody can sense it. Everybody can sense it coming. Everybody senses the need to organize and plan for what's coming, because I really do think, we're on the verge of a renaissance here.
We are, and the focus with tourism, and I got some funny questions for law enforcement in a moment, because we're going to shift away from all the political conversation.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about this all day, but the one key component of having a tourism director or a tourism authority, you got to give people something to tour when they come here.
Which we do have a lot of stuff to offer.
We do. We absolutely. It's just got to be clearly defined and also marketed, because it's easy to say, we got so much here. We got a river. We got Roan Mountain. We got, all this stuff going on, and you can hit up the Bear Sky. It's all in a myriad of directions. If you're not from here, because I bring friends from all over the world here all the time, they start driving to Roan Mountain, and they get a few miles out of town, and they're like, I don't even know that I'm going the right way. They get uncomfortable, and they go back.
Well, and I think that the board itself, we've had several discussions about that. Like, it's easy for us to realize, like, okay, it's going to take me 20 minutes to get from Little Switzerland to Bakersfield, but if you're not from here, you don't understand. It may look that close on a map, but
they know straight roads between Little Switzerland and Bakersfield.
So, the board has highlighted a lot about that, and the lady doing our website has done her due diligence in trying to get that to the people looking at the website.
That's awesome.
And stuff. So
I think you could just do a sample little map that has a bunch of your hot spots on it, and then kind of give travel times between.
It's definitely in that.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I was just I was in Arkansas. Ended up being like 27 miles south of Branson, Missouri, which is like the Gatlinburg of Missouri at this
Midwest.
It really is. But I will say that they had the little thing with all the flyers in it, the carousel that spins around. And on the top of that was this map. And on this giant map that had all these things, it had a number. And then the flyer that corresponded with that number was there. I'm not saying this has to be the plan. I'm just saying this is an intentional thought. If you're like, well, I'm staying at this hotel, all these red dots here, what are they here?
Right.
Right. And it just was really, as somebody who had never been to Harrison, Arkansas before, or maybe ever again. But that was really cool, because I could see, well, I'm not going to be there, but if I was, I could just pick a spot and say, this is how I can operate. And if you've got families, kids, older people, that's important things to know. What can I do here in Bakersville? What can I do in Little Switzerland? So
I wonder if anybody's have you ever talked or considered maybe an app?
Listen, I'm not tech savvy. So that is out of my realm, but there are several people on the board that are very tech savvy, and so we all bring stuff to the table. So
good.
That is not me.
Yeah.
I will tell you that is something you don't need to do from scratch. There are companies out there that you can just grab, and they do this all the time. And you just white label it, and then it costs the county $0 to implement that. And everybody, it's like $1.99, and they get a piece of all the downloads.
Yeah,
right?
see,
And that's
there you
the
go.
deal.
Yep.
So there are ways to make that a self-funding project, but it does require a group to get all the content because any app is only as good as what it
As
delivers.
whatever you feed it, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just as limited to the information you put in it.
And I'm still a big fan of the good old fashioned pamphlet. Hand me a pamphlet. When I go somewhere and I'm trying to find my way around, I love paper.
Batteries don't die on paper.
That's the truth. Yep. That's the truth.
Cell service don't
Maybe
die
a
on
little bit of
paper.
both of that, and that would be cool. I think that'd be a great idea. It'd be a great
All
idea.
right, so law enforcement. I used to ask my dad this question all the time when I was a kid. Dad go all over the county late at night. What's the craziest thing you've encountered? Human, non-human, wildlife. What's the craziest thing you've encountered on the job that you can share?
That you're allowed to
obviously.
share.
That you can
There's a lot
share.
of things that we can't share here. Most of the really crazy things we deal with are just very unfortunate. We've had some pretty funny ones.
We've had to chase pigs up Cane Creek
I have
before.
herded pigs. You've had pigs herding pigs.
That was on the small print on the job description.
Yes.
Yes, chase pigs.
That's
hilarious. There was quite a few people. I put it on my own Facebook. Pigs
oh
herding
my
pigs,
god.
going around. People didn't seem to enjoy that. It's an interesting job. It's hard to give you one thing.
Yeah, sure,
That I can say that that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Like there's a lot of funny things that I find hilarious, but it's an acquired humor. You have to have been there or see it for it to be funny. Otherwise, it's
a dark
horrifying.
humor, if you
Otherwise,
will.
it's horrifying. But that's part of the job. You have to have that sense of humor to get by, or you'll be a miserable person.
Yeah.
You ever have you encountered more bears this year than before moving around?
So, I used to work night shift, and we saw bears all the time.
Yeah.
I hit a bear with a patrol truck. Thankfully, it didn't do anything. Leslie, who used to be one of our health department workers, she was coming right along behind me, and she smacked it. Looked like she was going over one of the Bo and Luke Duke ramps. she had like a rough country, like a full-on steel bumper, and thankfully it directed her up and over the bear.
Wow.
Yeah, we periodically have that. There are more bears right now probably than we've ever had in a denser population. Somebody had a collared bear way up on Cane Creek just
I heard about
a month or
that.
two
Have some
ago.
on your porch.
I got one on those that likes to come down and watch me. Somebody in my neighborhood's feeding the bears. Stop. Because that doesn't end well for the bear or any of us.
No,
but
it doesn't.
if it's coming to the door more than once, somebody's fed it because they learned that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and it's what I've got's a young, not a cub, but young, getting ready to be big. And
I hit one
it's getting
last
too
year
tame.
about the same size as that one that you posted, that
Yeah.
juvenile. And I drive a F-150 work truck with a steel bumper, and it bent that thing all the way back just a juvenile. It's crazy. After I hit that thing, I was like, if you were to hit a 300-pound bear, your car would be destroyed.
Yeah.
And you know,
It would be destroyed.
the ones that I've seen aren't as big as I've seen them before, so I don't know if they're coming down looking for food. I don't know if what the deal is. They don't seem as big, but I've seen more of them this year.
Yeah, well, I've seen quite a few bears this year.
And Spruce Pine has a lot of bears.
Spruce Pine
I've
always
seen
has
more
bears.
in
We got
Spruce
one in
Pine
the English
than in
woods.
the county.
We got one in the English woods. We got coyotes in the English woods.
Oh,
No.
we have coyotes everywhere.
They
Yeah.
are everywhere.
You can't go anywhere without that.
I'll tell you right now, Dale Road is a safari, dude. I go up and down it every day and have for like
in a
2
lot
years.
of ways.
Oh yeah, in a lot of ways. But I'm telling you, every time I go up through there, you're hearing yipping coyotes. I almost hit 5,000 deer. Deer jump over the bumper. Bears, turkeys,
Llamas,
groundhog,
peacocks.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Saw a damn emu out there the other day. No, I mean it's crazy to me that there's that much wildlife around, and it seems I don't know if COVID could have had anything to do with this, but it seems like the deer population is just insane right now.
Yeah.
We're probably looking at a year where we're going to have a lot of ADHD, the hemorrhagic disease.
Right.
We had a fairly dry year last year. It's real wet this year. We're going to have a mosquito boom that's going to probably knock us down a little bit, but
Right.
we'll see. But we're seeing probably 30 deer a night at the house.
Are hogs still a problem up in near the state line?
North end of the county.
Yeah.
You have a lot of people. I don't know that I would call them a problem. It's a happy coincidence for a lot of people.
Sure.
But, they're there.
They were bad about 10 years ago up there, doing a lot of property damage.
Yeah. Yeah,
Really
I think-
wild hogs.
Yeah. Yeah, they were bad. My buddy got property up in Glen Air, and you might know the road, but this guy actually has a siren and a motion sensor in his field where his garden and stuff was. And if a hog came through, the motion sensor would go off and it sounded like a hog being murdered, screaming. And that was his deterrent. Because the hogs would hear it, they'd run off.
Really?
Yeah, but up by Kitty Store, Glen Air, you go out that road out towards Livonia Crest.
Green Creek.
Yeah, they were just destroying everything out there.
You got to get up
crazy.
to elevation there.
Are they native there? Or was that?
No, they were.
something was
My
introduction?
understanding, and this is my understanding. I don't know if this, but a hunt club brought them in up there to some managed land, and they just reproduced like mad, is what I heard.
Be that, but typically and historically, folks ran their hogs loose. Maybe my grandpa, he's 96 now. He talked about going to collect hogs with a dog. And people had their own ear notches, and so you would have these large roving bands of hogs that were encompassed 15 different families in one area's
Wow.
stuff, and so they'd breed, do their own thing, and everybody went through and they put their notch on their hog's ear,
They
and
know
they
it's
would go
theirs.
down and collect it at the right time of year and put it up.
I've always heard. I mean, if you just leave like a domestic hog like out in the wild and let it go, it'll turn into
Oh, yeah.
a feral hog,
yeah, it
right?
absolutely
will.
It grow tusks and the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's only one kind of pig. It's all Suscrafa, so
Right.
it's all there. They're all the same.
See, I don't know a whole lot about that, but when I heard somebody talk, that was one of those meat eater podcasts. I think they were talking about that. I love that one, man. That's a good one. But yeah, I never knew that. Here's another one. I saw this. Did you see that about the jellyfish in Lake James?
I did.
We have jellyfish.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Dude, it's like a freshwater jellyfish.
Yeah.
I looked it up. It's true.
It is.
We do. We have them. They don't sting. But they are very much a jellyfish.
Great with peanut butter on its number.
Oh, yeah. Dude. Let's go out there. Cocktail sauce on a saltine cracker.
Is
That's
SpongeBob
crazy.
down there too?
Yeah,
Like,
dude.
what the
He's down
hell?
there. Yeah.
Did you see
Whole
in
crew's down there.
Hickory, somebody reported a cougar sighting in,
I did.
in Hickory, Longview, outside of Hickory there.
Really?
You guys ever see those at your place?
No.
Big cats?
No, but I do like to say that Harley hunted me down.
Oh, my
She's a
God.
little older than me. Cougar and cub.
There you
There is not a drastic age difference.
I know. I was. This was. I think I was coming down. Where was that? Somewhere close to town here. I think I was coming down. I think it was down the bypass up there from my office on Chalk Mountain. I was coming down. I saw a bobcat run across the road.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We had one out Swiss Pine. It's good size.
Yeah.
It's good size.
I've never seen one, but out of the corner of my eye, I was like, "Is that a domestic?" And then I started looking. I was like, "That is not a domestic house cat."
I was going to say, I had a sense that people in the chat might be asking questions. Anybody in the chat posted anything about the animals they've seen?
Just to take the bird feeders down that bears are attracted to them.
Well, they'll take it down for you.
Yeah, they will.
Yes, you
sure.
can leave them up if you want. Smear some bacon grease on it.
The bears
know.
will also drag your grill off the porch. They'll do that.
Yeah, they will.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They'll eat
No,
your
my
cats.
smoker's in danger.
They won't intentionally eat your cats. They just hurt them by accident
Right.
usually.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if any of our listeners have seen anything crazy out in the county they'd like to report, animal-wise or anything.
The
Rebecca,
peacock is probably the most.
There's peacocks running around. Somehow,
I
was Cane
love
Creek-
that.
Somehow Cane Creek, or I keep getting it conflated where it was. I think it was Cane Creek. Someone had
I
peacocks.
think Mandy Polly is the one that posted it.
Yes, I think it was Mandy.
There's a couple of years there was a pheasant running around on Cane Creek. We would see it periodically, out and around working. There's some folks in Ledger, the heavy moves and other stuff.
Yeah.
Thankfully they
Yeah.
stay up because I'll tell you what, that's the last thing I want to deal with.
Oh, yeah.
Those
for
things
sure.
can kick.
Yeah.
Rebecca asked if anyone heard about the squalor. She said her granny used to say that we had a man eating mountain lion around Bakersville.
I had heard that rumor when I was young.
I've never heard that.
And I had heard that now when I was young, hanging out down Penland on the river, I swear, and me and my brother and a guy named Eric Honeycutt, we saw a big cat. Now, we thought it was a cougar. It may have been bobcat because we were small and everything was bigger than us then. But I had heard there was a cougar that ran out from Cane Creek, across Bear Creek, all through
Yeah.
there. I'd heard that when I was young.
My great aunt, she raised me when I was 6 months old till about 11, and she used to tell me, I would make her tell me stories when she put me to bed. And she used to tell me a story about her daddy. So she was born in 1914, I think. So he would have been, you're talking turn of the century age, somewhere around in there. That they took the wagon down to Morganton or to Marion to the farmer's market with all the stuff, and he would come back. He stopped. It was one night. It was getting real late, about 12 o'clock or whatever. Everybody was getting tired, and they were close to home. They lived out there in like Newdale, where Old Parsley store.
Yep.
Yes, you remember Old Parsley store? They lived out that direction, and she said they stopped on Chalk Mountain. Just because he was getting so tired, and he's like, I'll just go to sleep and wake up and bring it on home in the morning. They said the horses kept going crazy because there was something around. They were just restless, and finally he said about 2 o'clock in the morning, he was like, screw this, I'm just getting up. And he said that they started walking, and he could hear the cougar following them, like stalking them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so he said he turned around and walked backwards all the way from Chalk Mountain to over there at Old Parsley store. Walk backwards, just so he figured, if it pounces on me or tries to get us, I'm better off facing it.
At least take its eye out.
Man, I've seen one like with my legit own eyes.
Really?
Yeah. About 2007, 2008, when I worked at Red Hill in the lab, I was at the quartz plant one evening, and I went to the guard shack to smoke, and me and the guard were standing there talking, and there was it was a black. I guess it was a panther, but it had spots like a leopard. It was massive across the road where you go up to the mines, just walking back and forth, watching us. And we were just like, oh, my God.
Note to self, avoid Red Hill plant.
No, this was at the quartz plant.
The quartz plant in Mimpro?
This was at Mimpro. Yeah.
That's we were just downriver from there when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Huh.
Now, that was,
all right,
long time ago.
Poll for the audience. Do you believe there's big cats in the mountains? There's conflicting stories, and the wildlife says no. What does everybody else think?
I mean, I've seen it with my own eyes, absolutely.
I know I did. I believe I did when I was young. But
one other thing that my Aunt Wilma used to tell me too was that people had released big cats around here, like that weren't necessarily native to here, but were there was somebody. I think she said there was somebody that used to work for a circus that tried to take them home and keep them and couldn't do it and just released them into the wild.
What could go wrong?
Yeah. Tom Hauser, shout out Tom.
Back to our earlier conversation about needing a wildlife resource officer in town. Yeah. There's a giant abandoned tiger out here at the end of Hoot Owl Road. Can you come get it?
Now, Tom I was talking to him earlier. This was late last week, and went out to his property. He lives just right up from Glen Eyre there.
Yeah.
And we were walking around his property, and I was asking about. I said, "You ever see any big?" Started talking about bears, and then I said, "You ever see any big cats out here?" And he said that he knew a guy that lived not far from where he is out there, that had called, that was having a bunch of problems with things getting missing and all cows, like calves, young ones, and called the state wildlife officer, and they came out and were looking. They were walking, and he's like, dude, I've walked every fence line in this place. He's like, we've looked everywhere to try to find the remains. He's like, I don't know where he's like, I'm not saying you're not looking hard enough. He said, you may just not be looking in the right place. If you tried looking in the trees.
Very like Predator.
Yeah. Like drag it up, literally drag it up in a tree.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what big cats do.
Speaking of Glen Eyre, if you guys haven't been to the food truck up in Glen Eyre in front of Kitty's store, it's the best Philly cheesesteak this side of Philly.
Really?
It really is.
What's the name of it?
I don't know. It's the gray silver food truck with the lady in it making Philly steak sandwiches. If anybody knows the name, throw it out. It's great. So,
I used to go down there to Thomas's Grocery and get watermelons. They had the best watermelon. He got them from somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Stores, it's every time I go up there, I have to stop and get my knee-high peach and my oatmeal cake. That's just it. Just goes back as what I've always done. You got to keep it real.
Sandwich.
Exactly.
That's what I get down there at Tipton Hill.
Old Edward Burleson during the blizzard in '93. No, it wasn't blizzard '93. We were still in high school. So in the '80s, there was a big snow. We were stuck up on the Rhone. He lived up there, and we got this big idea. We'll just walk down to Kitty's store, and he was up in the top, almost up past Valley High, almost to the. Had big housing development before you go up the top. Anyway, we walked down. Kitty's store was awesome. We made it. So they were in there. Then we had to walk back, and it was getting dark, and that straight got longer and longer and longer.
Dang, that's crazy.
Speaking of crazy stuff in county, well, it was actually Avery County, Yancey County. We had 2 confirmed tornadoes, F1s touch down during those storms today. Confirmed tornadoes.
Yeah.
So
Really?
Me and Chase was talking about this earlier. David Biddick said that Mitchell County is the only county in North Carolina that has never experienced a tornado.
I would argue that.
I don't know.
I don't know. The man knows his stuff.
David does know everything. I worked with him TOE. He does know it all. Just ask him; he'll tell you.
I've tried to look this stat up a couple times. I didn't tell you that, but I'm a little bit of a weather geek. But looking at a lot, it's kind of hard to tell because the way the National Weather Service breaks it down is it's like tornado producing thunderstorms.
That's right.
They don't just do touchdowns.
Right.
And there's been several of those come through here, but most, I think, anything that touchdown or was any destructive up until, I guess, recently here was all like made it down to like Morganton and all that way, you know. But it was the same supercell, basically, same
I would
weather
say that
system.
if you asked my dad if a tornado's touched down when he lived out Hoot Owl, when he first moved here as a trooper, and one flipped his trailer that he lived in, he will tell you a tornado touched down at Estito in 1967, probably it was.
Really?
Yeah.
Flipped it.
Yeah, on its side.
Dang.
Was my understanding. Yep.
Tornadoes are wild, boy, and we have been having some crazy storms.
Dude, tell
some
me
of those
about
were
it.
wild.
Right?
Was there any? I saw there was somebody out. It was out your guys' way, but they must have been way up somewhere. It kind of looked like they were like on a sort of almost like a bald of some sort or something. Posted it. I mean, dude, it looked like a tornado. Like, I mean, it was the trees were they're blowing their bird feeders off, and
We
everything.
have had some storms.
We had 19 trees, I think, down at one time with that storm within a 5-minute period. So
Really?
Yeah, and the majority of them were centered around Bakersville.
Right.
I think we had 2 on the south end of the county.
Wow.
So we were running around. I had to go home and get my chainsaw and bring it back out, and we spent the next 2 hours.
The firefighters,
cutting out.
everybody was
Yeah.
on it. So.
Thankfully, everybody was on their game, and we got everything opened up quick. But yeah, it's been an interesting time here lately.
It was one great thing I got to brag on, and I saw a bunch of people bragging on this response time for a county emergency stuff
I've heard that
seems
too.
to be on point.
It
And
is.
I've
It
seen
is.
that
I've heard that
consistently
too.
over the last like 6 months. People
Yeah.
posting like, "Holy crap! I just saw something, and they were here before we even like turned around," basically, which is really good.
You know, it's what we've still got here is not just law enforcement EMS, but people still help each other here for the most part. Like a Self boy who pulled that Triana,
Yeah.
out of the she's back to work now.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
and she's on fire in a car and just run into a blazing car. You know, we still got people
Yeah.
here who will do that.
Well, there's
So,
something to be said for that, and I've said that a lot. You know, we've got to watch ourselves. Like, you know, we can all argue about politics and argue about all this stuff, but you know, if you lose that mountain hospitality and that sense of community, that's what really sustains us around here.
Yes.
that's all we got left.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
because it's catching.
I know it is, and it seems to be going that way all over. Well, we cannot lose that because that's what's attractive about this area,
I agree.
especially to live here.
I agree.
You know, it's one thing for tourism, but you still got to attract people to live. You know,
That's what I always say. I'm not a fan of change in this county. I'm a fan of progress. I don't want change. I
Right.
want progress. There's a balance. You don't want to come in here and flip the script, turn this into somewhere else. I just want more things to sustain what we got.
Yep.
That's about
Well,
it.
speaking of progress, Harley, I know you got several things there. Run us through some things that are going on. I know that part of the tourism development stuff that you were talking about, you're going to make a codified like community calendar on that, right?
Yeah, so I have created for 2 years now a county-wide event calendar, and so before we end this, I do want to talk about the upcoming events. But I just went to Boone yesterday because I serve on the RPO Transportation Advisory Committee, and so they were touching on some of the DOT projects that are currently going on, and then some that we've got coming down the turnpike and all of that. But I know that there's been a lot of talk on Facebook and concern about the Red Hill intersection, and so that should be getting design. They're in the design phase So hopefully that community can see that
And
being
you're
redesigned.
you're
in the
talking about
spring.
that right there at the store, right? At Red
Right
Hill
past
store,
the
Red Hill
store
Grocery. Yeah.
As you cut down to go towards Jerry Griffith's.
Right.
So
I got killed there once. That's where I got ran over.
Wow.
Was that intersection?
Really?
Yeah.
well, we
Yeah.
are working on getting it fixed because
Yeah.
I think it's been a long time coming.
Car ran me
I think.
down. Was running 60 miles an hour, and I was standing in Tommy Parker's yard.
Oh yeah, you told us about that one
Yeah.
time.
Broke everything.
Jeez, that was right there.
Yeah, it was right there, that intersection.
So what's so bad? I don't make it out there enough to know what's so bad about it.
Well, it's really fun to be coming up Red Hill and just fly through there and get on the road.
Right.
I mean, really, it is. And and if you're coming in, going down Red Hill, there's traffic coming. It's real fun to try to beat the car coming at you and cut in front of it. That's
Yeah.
what people do.
I know,
I'm
but
not lying. It's what people do. They're like, and there used to be a trooper who lived right there at that intersection. And I always thought that I wondered if he was there just because there's so much stuff. It was easy for him to respond.
Put him in
Well,
the
I gotta walk
house.
down to another one, boys. 10:18, no more. But yeah, it's just something about that, the way it's laid out. And I'm sure a redesign, if they treat it more like Mine Creek, where you don't merge, you kind of come on and T, and then you have to stop and make a left or right,
Right.
would slow that down. It's just kind of the natural lay of the land, because you're coming down from Red Hill on 197, you're going downhill, you're getting speed, and it just merges onto the road. And if you're not familiar, a couple of it be accidental. It just looks like you just go straight. You may not even see, because the grade, there's a road coming on that you're connecting.
So it's one of
You
those.
know, and if
Yeah.
you're distracted at all, like, oh, this is a pretty place, bam, you get
Yeah.
T-boned. So it's just a unique place, but a redesign, it would be simple. And I'm not saying it's not costly, but just curving it to where, like, again, where Mine Creek hits 226, something.
Do you
like that.
have an idea of what they're going to do with it?
Nope. But they are talking to the engineers and all of that. So our new district guy, his name is McCrae. He's been really, really helpful. After that last truck had wrecked, thankfully there was no spills for the chemicals and stuff. But he was very proactive with meeting with us as the county fire departments. Like, there was a bunch of key players that come together, and we tried to formulate a solution. And so now we're moving forward with it.
Nice.
There's just no good access to that plant for trucks. There's just
No.
not. I mean, that's something to consider. Even if you make that turn, it's going to have to be a wide turn for trucks to get through there. It's going to take some engineering. But, you know, you can't come across Harold Hill because it's its own
No.
nightmare. You can't come across... Well, you can come across Poplar if you got a couple days to do it.
Right.
But
Well,
in a truck. But it gets treacherous down there, too. But, yeah, that's a challenge.
God, Poplar, man.
I love
I
that.
don't make.
That's where I'm headed next.
Okay.
Poplar Car Show is coming up.
Oh yeah.
Push rods.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So
Let's
it's
go.
what,
28.
next weekend maybe?
28th. Is that?
So-
Yeah, it's the 28th. It's the weekend way.
So it's
Labor
not
Day
this
weekend.
coming weekend, but
The
the
following.
next.
Oh, I
Yeah.
have to work.
Dang.
Wah, 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 wah.
Dang.
Yeah.
It's all
Yeah,
about
that's
the
right up
time.
your alley too. You need
I
to ask
know.
off for that.
I would like to take the Maserati up to the car show.
I'd like to ride
You
down there
know-
with you. We'd make it there faster.
Yeah.
Last time I went there, I drove for
You
2
need to
hours. and I was
monetize.
like, God dang.
You need to monetize this calendar thing. So I'm sitting here thinking through. You've got all these calendar dates. You could put together a community calendar and sell the 2024 calendar with a picture each month of the event going on that month, and then you could give all the proceeds to the Mitchell County Animal Rescue.
I like it.
Self-funding. I love self-funding projects. I always try to market everything. So, excuse me. I'm always, every time they send me something, I'm like, hey, you know how you can monetize this?
And that's great because I'm just like, spend all the money.
Yeah.
Now what do I do?
Gotta get come back. But that's why you can shop HollerCast.com/merch.
Exactly. Use code HollerCast for 10%
Any
off.
expendable income, we'll gladly take it.
Helps keep the lights on here.
Now, I'd really need to make it. It's been years since I've been down there for the car show. I've heard it is just a.
It's
in
insane.
the last,
It's
especially in like the
wild.
last 5 years, has really blown up.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy.
I like the boat car that comes in there. I don't know if you've seen it. But it drives on land, but he could drive it into a lake and just start driving and it's
So it's all kinds of just crazy stuff.
It looks like a boat and it does run in water, but he can just drive it out on land like James Bond style.
That is so cool.
Yeah. It's not a
the
submersible.
hell?
See, Josh, you need to take off work.
I know.
Yeah, we need to go to that, dude.
Yeah, I think you got the COVID coming on.
I don't know if anybody at work watches this, so I'm maybe we'll get away with calling
Feel
it
some
out.
COVID.
Yeah.
Feel some
Oh, God.
Oh God! Let's go. Come in wearing a mask. Everybody will be like, "You need to go home." Yeah. So what else is going on?
Well, I know that Mitchell Medics, you spoke about them earlier. They and Stephanie Wiseman up at Mitchell Communications are working to try to get lots of people familiar with how to do CPR.
Oh, yes, I did hear about this. Yep.
So
That's
if
been done
there's-
real well.
Yeah, so if there's any churches or organizations or whatever, they are 100% on board to come and teach you guys how to do CPR. So
That's
kinda
awesome.
It is.
Yeah, you never know when that can save a life. That's
Unfortunately, it will. Everyone in their lifetime will encounter a situation where it would help if they knew it.
Yes.
for sure. Absolutely.
I'm horrible
Everyone
at it. Baby Shark is.
You
not-
punish the baby shark.
So that's the song that I had picked too when they were teaching me, and I'm not good at it. So
I should not do.
Here's the
Baby
thing.
shark.
And here's the thing. This is the thing I always kill. Every time I've done it, like I've done the class like 3 times, and every time the technique changes. You wait
Yeah.
5 years, and there's a
Yeah.
different way to do it, which is
No rescue breasts.
no rescue breasts now. Is that still the case?
No, you go.
Yeah, there's no rescue vest, and that's been a thing for a while now.
Yeah.
I figured.
You just go.
And I'll point out that's probably one of the more important things. You should definitely learn to do this. You don't know how many times we come to scenes that family is standing around and distraught, and they really want to be able to help, but they have not the first clue.
Yep.
That and first aid classes. You can kind of find a stop the bleed class or a first aid class somewhere.
and they will do that as well.
Yeah, they do that as well. I can't recommend that highly enough because you will eventually run into the situation.
Man, that's great. I'm glad you brought that up. That is a great public service announcement. We all should figure that out. How do you do it for yourself? Because I know I'm gonna be alone somewhere in an airport finding a pole. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna be that
Heimlich
guy.
yourself. I do know that. Like,
I know how to
get
do
over a
that
chair or
one.
whatever, right? That's the deal.
Yeah. Just find a corner of a table and just run into it. It's fine. Nothing can go wrong. Trust me.
So on the DOT stuff,
Yes.
I know we've been trying to get this DOT. We wanted to talk about this DOT plan for a long time.
Yeah.
So what, I know what's so interesting about that document to me is after reading over it when Jimmy sent it to me, is it really just kind of shows you what the state thinks about your future or whatever. So you have any idea of those projects, and we'll go over it at some point. What are the priority? I know you'd mentioned some stuff out 226.
Well, I will be able to give you a better idea about that after my next transportation meeting.
Okay.
So we do
Sounds
them
good.
quarterly, and so that's kind of
We'll schedule follow up then.
Yeah.
there's
for sure.
like a number system, and like the most important projects obviously are
Getting done first.
Yep. So
If
we
anyone's
should
not
have
looked it
those
up, it's the
results.
comprehensive transportation plan for this county. A lot of folks don't understand. They think this needs to happen. There's a ton of stuff that's already happened. These things take time and funding and budget allocation. And as Ralph pointed out when he's here today, hurt dog hollers. If we start screaming for money, the state, like anybody else, puts out the loudest fire first.
Yep.
So I'm still trying to spend that $3 billion excess that the state's got in my head right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I've thought so
Whole
much
bunch of
about that.
plans.
Like,
I didn't sleep for 2 days after that. I was like,
yeah, that's a lot. That's a big coffer to
starting to write all these grant proposals.
I know. One of the things about that transportation plan was shocked me, and I'm sure this was just. I was just reading about Spruce Pine in general, the greater
Yeah.
Spruce Pine area, not even the county, but like what was it? Was it 19 between basically the cruise through, like the Methodist church there, and the parkway out there on 226? 19 like crash prone areas, like, and they rate them, I guess, right? Right,
Yeah,
on how.
like traffic counts and all that
Yes.
stuff.
And I know if you see them, that I've noticed lately, they've had those counters
Yes.
Yeah.
everywhere
Yep.
lately. Yeah,
Yep.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that they're up to something. But I really think that stuff, I'd love to have you back for a whole thing on that.
I think we could do a whole podcast on it. That
Yeah.
specifically.
We could. We really could. And there's a lot of things to that too. I mean, there's proposed bike lanes. There's sidewalks all the way to Walmart.
Yeah, it's more than just
I know.
traffic stuff. It's
Yeah.
rail.
It is-
It's everything.
That's it. Rail, car, human, bike, everything, And we're going to see, I don't think we'll see the bikes here as much as like in the flat country just because it's hard to bike up a hill.
Right.
But I do think we'll see an increase to some degree, but it'll never be like in Portland or some cities that are bicycle first. We're just too remote here.
I'd be curious. I'd love to get somebody from the transportation, like from the state,
Yeah.
to talk about like, because I have questions about like, what do you do like out there at Little Switzerland? when you go past the Skyline Inn out through there, going out, what do you do about a road like that?
Try not to drive off of it.
There ain't nothing. I mean, but how do you expand it? How do you?
There's plans for that. I mean, you can't expand. Some things you can't expand. And there's things that, like when you get around the parkway, you can't widen without grants. I mean,
Right.
just like that old Mountain View restaurant, right? For them to fix things like septic and water runoff, there's a big gully that runs down behind it that's runoff for the parkway that the feds have, before you do anything to land, you got to get this federal approval, which takes years.
I know.
So there's not a lot. Some things
Federal
just
government
can't
does
do
not
anything.
move in a fast manner.
Well, people don't understand too. Like on 19E, you can't just put a connector on 19E. There's a reason when the fire department, the police department there, it would have made sense for Spruce Pine PD to just T-bone 19E and go right on the road, right and left, but they couldn't.
So that's why
So
they
they
couldn't
have to do that little yellow light there and come down. So
Yeah.
not even EMS, fire, and police could not get a connector to 19E, even though it makes the most practical sense. You look how that design was go right out to 19E. So
Right.
now they got to go that little winding road by Rocky's house, and out to the yellow flashing light, and then go down.
I did not know that.
You can't put connectors on 19. There's some things that cannot be done just because the way law and easements and real estate laws.
Can you build on 19?
You can build on it. It just depends on if there's a road connector. So you can build on
Right.
land anywhere for the most part, but you got to have certain easement from the center line
Right.
back that belongs
Oh, sure.
to the state.
Yeah.
But you can, but where are you going to connect? Right? So I'll tell you, the best place in town for a business to be established was with 19E, and between Deer Park Road, 19E, and 226 in that corner right there. Man, that's where we need like a big truck stop.
I know. Bucky's.
A bug.
Get on it.
Well,
Get on it.
I don't think there's 25 acres there, which is what they buy. But
Bucky's thing is I've got to make it to one of these.
Have you not been?
No, I've never been.
I've
to
never
one.
been.
have you all been to a Buc-ee's?
Oh, we've been. I'm a Buc-ee's connoisseur.
I say, all right. What's your favorite thing to say sandwich to get there?
I'm not big on the sandwiches.
Okay.
I really enjoy
Your jerky?
the burritos.
Oh, you like the burritos?
But they have a
Okay.
peach muffin. The peach muffin.
I've
is
heard
probably
that.
the best thing you'll ever put in your mouth.
Really?
Do you have a
Beef
favorite thing
nuggets.
there?
No, I'm a snacker. So
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You're the
any
beef
snacks.
jerky aisle, huh?
No, there are people that wait in line for the
Yeah.
jerky. Like, are you done yet?
Yeah.
I mean, for real, it's a thing.
Yeah, well, we've been to Buc-ee's in Texas and everywhere else.
That one at 407, exit 407 there at Gatlinburg Pigeon Forge.
I've heard it is a-
massive,
It is massive.
monster.
massive.
What a concept.
It's the
Isn't it
size of
funny?
Spruce Pine. It is the size of Upper and Lower Street, all the way out to City Drive into the bridge. It really
I
is.
heard somebody told me they had like 200 gas pumps
They
or
do.
something such.
They do.
Good God.
Yeah, and it would be usually the cheapest gas anywhere you see. Yeah,
And very
it's
clean
cheaper than
bathrooms.
Sam's generally.
Yeah,
And,
they do.
and we always stop. when
Cleanest
we're going
bathrooms
west,
anywhere.
Crossville.
The food's a little more expensive, but they
Right.
just entice you in with the clean.
I've always heard the barbecues.
And they don't allow any trucks.
No.
It's a family travel center. They don't allow any trucks.
Really?
And their EV charging stations pulls more electricity than 12 grocery stores
Really?
for their EV charging facility.
They're really smart. Everything there is Buc-ee's branded.
It
So,
is.
like they don't sell generally. They have some drinks, but snacks and stuff, all Buc-ee's branded.
Yeah.
So they're manufacturing
It
their
is
own.
great marketing. I see kids walking around with Bucky's T-shirts on.
Oh,
Wearing
I
a
see
Bucky
everybody
hat.
has one.
Pajama like a zip up to look like the Bucky Beaver. I'm not joking. It's a thing. It is a thing. It's like Wally World as a convenience store. You know,
But fun.
it is fun. It is
But
fun.
isn't it funny how kind of like kitsy idea, almost that probably started out like, let's make a Walmart gas station. You can hear that being like
Our
considered bad.
mascot's going to be a giant beaver.
Right. And then all of a sudden it's the next big thing, sliced bread.
What helped them grow, in my opinion, and I deal with convenience stores in my business, but my opinion, what helped their growth skyrocket is during COVID, everybody had to travel to small towns like us who were hidden and open because everywhere else was closed. So everybody started going camping. And that really fueled the revenue growth. And convenience stores were essential. They could all stay open. So they made a ton of money because they were open when everybody else was closed.
And you can
So-
outfit yourself completely to go do any of your outdoor
That's
restaurants.
Yeah, it's like a Cabela's in there too. And
Yeah.
It is a mini Cabela's. It really is. I mean, if you're going on a family vacation, So their plan is to be where every family stops on the way to Disney World or Disneyland. So if you're driving your car 12 hours from 14, 16 hours from Ontario, Canada, they would make sure every time you stop, you're at a Buc-ee's.
So what you're saying is south of the border and what was that other one? Pedro's or whatever.
Yeah.
They were on the right track. They just didn't relocate when the highway
exactly
changed.
Right.
Yeah, I got you.
It's the Stuckey's plan from back in the day. Stuckey's was this roadside America gas station. They had iconic gas stations, kind of how like Pizza Hut's all shaped the same. All the Stuckey's had this iconic roof, and it was like all roadside America. And every state you went to had a Stuckey's, and they had all the moccasins or whatever in that town or city was unique. They sold those tchotchkes there. So it's neat just kind of watching everything reboot.
It is, because it's really the second coming of something.
But while we're talking about, businesses, tell us about your all's business. What's all going on at the cafe?
Well, my husband is a very patient man. He's a very, very good. We got married in, May 2018? And so the week we came back from our honeymoon, we bought the building, we completely gutted, remodeled, and opened by August 2018.
Wow. That's a turnaround.
He's a very good one. So,
Jumping in with both feet.
yes.
We did. No, we've done well. Most of that is because of the inordinate amount of work that Harley puts into things, just like she does everything else she does. And I'm going to take a moment and get on a soapbox for my wife, because she doesn't promote herself very well, but she spends more time doing anything that she does. So she puts more effort and time than I can fathom wanting to do. There's often times I go to bed at 10, 11, maybe 12 o'clock or later, and Harley's still up pecking away at the keyboard, doing spreadsheets and things, and that may not be just for the business. That's for any county thing or anything that someone calls her with that they need, or any of the other 1,000 boards that Harley sits on. She puts every ounce of herself into each one of these projects.
Yeah.
And that's why you see some of these things happening or doing well that Harley is involved with, because she puts the time down to it.
Well, especially restaurants, cafes, that's not a job. That's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It is.
It's not a business. It is a lifestyle, because
You're married to it.
you are. And when you own your own business and your employees don't show up, you show up. And when your employees do a bad job, you get the blame.
Yes.
And
But I have very good employees.
and that's great. So when they do
Very
a
lucky.
good job,
That's awesome.
I'm very
As do I.
lucky.
it's that you're very lucky, because labor is a problem, as we were talking about even in law enforcement, and we'll come back to that in a second. But you got any specials this week? Anything awesome you're making?
Chicken taco soup, but I will say that
Chicken taco soup.
I think we have the best club sandwich in Mitchell County.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's just your typical club, but we get lots of compliments on it. So
Hey, do something that everybody likes and do it better than everybody else does it. That's the best. That's what I've always said about it. Restaurants don't have to try to reinvent the wheel.
I'm gonna walk in the door and say, "Congratulations, you're the best club sandwich in Mitchell County." Like an elf, he walked in. Good job. Hey, you should be proud of it. If you believe it, it must be true.
well, and like DT's Trish's Bounty, best sandwich there. Like I don't try to compete with that because they do it perfect.
Sure.
So
Trish and Dave do a great job, and I'm glad it feels like to me that you've kind of occupied that same type of thing in Bakersville, which is really cool because it needs it. Everybody needs that lunch spot. The lunch spot in a small town like these is essential, in my opinion. It's where people gather. A good lunch. That's the reason places like the 50s Diner do well still, because it's just, I want lunch. Let's go and grab a good burger, good price, just excellent stuff. Like I said, don't have to reinvent the wheel. I think so many restaurants try to get so complicated and so over the top and try to do
Pretentious,
have
so
a
pretentious.
bechamel and creme fraiche on
Here's
everything,
a rabbit brulee with popcorn on top.
Right,
of it,
right.
a side
It's
of
like, dude,
pineapple. Like, stop.
I appreciate your creativity, but like,
Where's the biscuits and gravy?
right?
son?
Just give me something
This
good,
is a deconstructed squirrel gravy biscuit
Now, don't be hating on the squirrel.
Hey,
with an arugula salad and
I know it's a challenge. I do, but I do wish there were three's fine breakfast spots in the county that were open Sunday at 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Sunday. I don't care if you're closed the rest of the day, but I'm that guy that's up at 4 a.m. And I love Sunday. And Sunday morning, I'm not working. Well, I'm not supposed to be, but I'm typically not working as much. And I wake up and I'm bored because I'm not working or doing
everybody
stuff.
needs Sunday breakfast.
And I want to go grab coffee before we go to church or whatever. I mean, we get donuts and coffee at church. I ain't slamming that. And Jackie makes a bunch of food for the church. But before I get to church, I'd
like to actually
eat.
have a breakfast.
I'm already hungry. Like it's lunchtime by the time we get
Well,
to
Sunday morning is essential. Either if you're a church-going person, you're eating before church because you got to go to church. You got to
And
get away.
Ingles.
And if you're one of the other types, you're trying to
I agree.
get over a hangover. So, yeah.
And what makes me mad about Ingles is by the time they set out their breakfast, they've already put it up. I'm like, I get there, I'm like, they're like, oh, we're put breakfast up. I'm like, it's 7:15.
Yeah, I know.
It's like Whitson's and Burleson's crew come through and they're like, all right, we're done.
Yeah, I think it is that. It's for all the work people that come in and grab it. I have to stay away from breakfast. That's where I start gaining.
Yeah,
I gaining weight.
for sure.
I have to watch myself because I get heavy on breakfast.
That's what kills me where I travel.
Mornings.
I'm so starved in the morning. I'll go the next thing I know, I'm like, did I eat 10
Where'd all
pancakes?
see? This is the thing. We need to ask you this. Where do you guys go for breakfast?
That is the right question.
So I'm not a breakfast man. If I eat breakfast, I probably will not eat again all day long.
Right. I'm kind of the
You know,
same way.
I'm an odd person.
Get out.
No, I'm not a breakfast fan. We had breakfast for supper last night. I'll eat it. It's fine, but it's just not my favorite meal of the day. I'm not awake yet, and I'm not ready to eat.
Understood.
Yeah, I know a lot of people like
Understood.
that.
You know, we've tried doing Sunday breakfast. We've tried doing other breakfasts, and it's not really a
You don't have the
thing.
demand for it.
The
Yeah,
demand has
understood.
never
The
been
demand.
there.
Sure.
We always find ourselves throwing things away.
Yeah.
You know, I love the idea. It would be wonderful. It never seems to work
I know.
out in practice.
And it's got to work business wise first for sure.
The demand has to be there for it to work.
I don't disagree. Don't disagree.
One thing I'll say this about you, Harley. Since me and you have been talking, more leading up to this and all that. What John says is definitely I can tell it. I know you work diligently at what you do, and we appreciate it.
Look at the
I know.
Okay.
Notes for the podcast.
That's exactly what I was just gonna say.
Yeah, overdone. She has every day's events listed out.
Yep.
No one takes the time to
That's
do these
amazing.
things.
Yeah.
It's
Well-
maybe I'm biased.
I'm just a
I married
note-taker.
up and I did well. So
I understand.
I like to brag.
So what other boards do you sit on? So you got the transportation board and all that. What else is there?
So when you are sworn in as a commissioner, usually that December meeting, there's a whole list of boards, and you guys get to divvy up, and sometimes you have to draw straws because some of them are not the most enjoyable
Yeah.
boards, but
Dry subject matter, huh?
Yes. So right now I serve on the High Country RPO Transportation Advisory Committee, which meets quarterly. The TDA board, so that's monthly. The Mitchell County Council of Aging. That one doesn't really have like a specific time frame. The E911 Advisory Committee, which is quarterly, and then the Fire Association, which is every other month. So that's the ones I have this year. Last year I had different ones.
Mm-hmm.
How about your state board you sit on?
I did get sought out by the North Carolina Associations of County Commissioners to serve on a board there. So I guess that is very good to have representation for Mitchell County down in Raleigh.
That's awesome.
Congratulations.
Hell yeah.
So yeah,
And what board is it?
it's one of their boards on the Association of County Commissioners.
Oh, okay. I got you.
They only sought me out because I'm a young female. So
Hey.
I did ask
They
them.
saw Harley out. I tell her. I keep saying this is her first bidding for state
no.
government. Right?
No.
Right. Hey, there you go. Moving on up. You hear that, Ralph? I know you're listening.
No.
He'll recommend good attorneys.
So I was going to ask you that. How many female county commissioners have there been in Mitchell County?
One, Miss Lee, I believe her name was Lisa, maybe?
Mhm.
Lisa something.
Maybe somebody
Sparks?
in
Yes.
Sparks.
Lisa
Yes.
Sparks. Oh, okay.
Yep.
So you're
number
only the
two.
second one.
Yes, and Vern was the youngest up until I was sworn in, and so I'm
Vern.
about 10 years younger than him, maybe.
Wow.
I don't know how old he is.
I always want to say Vern like Newman on Seinfeld, and it's like always pops my head every time I see him. And I think I've done it to him, like, because in my brain I'm like, Vern, hey, how you doing? And I'm like, don't mean anything about it, it's just my
Shout out Vern, man. He
What's
was a
up,
good one.
Vern?
He's a huge Seinfeld fan, so he would get that.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Now
Vern,
we'll do it every time I
Let me
see
tell you
him from
something.
now
We had
on.
Vern on here. What was that? The second
Podcast.
The second podcast
Yeah.
we did. And let me tell you something. I could do like 5 more with Vern. Vern's one of those people that he's the onion type of person. You just peel back
Yeah.
the layers trying to get. He's involved in a little bit of everything,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
What an interesting guy. It's really crazy. Like, and the more and more we
I'm
go.
sorry you had to work with him all those years. I'm kidding.
He's very knowledgeable.
He is.
About
He is.
county government. So.
What he doesn't know, he fabricates. No, I'm just kidding. I just say that because he's a car salesman. You got to say that, right? No, he's great.
It is really funny when you go to places. When I go to some of these events and meetings with Harley for these various boards she sits on, people that don't know her yet, and they come up and they're asking Harley what she's there for, and I'm a county commissioner, and they're always taken aback. They take us 2 steps and they say, "No, you're not." And then we have to go through the whole spiel with Harley.
Yes, I
So
am.
Well, I remember when you got elected, I didn't know you, or at least not closely, but you had a lot of support.
Mm-hmm.
You had a lot of support. I think there's,
did.
I think there's a desire for younger people to be in spots of leadership. You know.
Well, I do think that it's very important that the makeup of boards have young people, old people, women, men, because everybody brings like a different perspective.
Amen.
To all topics. So.
Well, it's important that the board represents the county, represents the demographics. Or the
On the other side of the
constituents.
coin, it hit me. I don't think there's younger people on the board. I think I'm just getting old.
Yeah, I know.
Everyone looks young now. So,
Well, I think too that there's, in a county like this, I think again, I go back to what I said earlier. It's everybody feels the growth and the change coming and happening even already, and maybe you can hit on some of that because we got a lot of stuff going on in this county. But everybody feels it coming, and everybody So I think now's that time where you grasp that to start to.
here's the thing: change is happening, and we have to manage it, or it will take control on its own.
Yes, it will.
Growth. 2 things happen: things are in a state of decline, or they're in a state of growth, and that's going to happen naturally. And if you don't manage it, it can happen on its own. So if you recognize things are happening, it is critical. Back to that mountain culture piece. If we want to preserve our way of life, we, the being us locals, and to me, someone who's been here for a period of time, you don't have to be born and raised here, but if you there's ways to become part of the community. Just ask one of us, we'll tell you, kind of thing. But I mean, there is ways. But we've got, I believe it's the duty of all the residents to protect aggressively what we got, and we got to find ways to help it sustain. Because I will tell you, even though there's a lot of folks moving in, there's not a lot of opportunity moving in.
Right.
And that's what's got to be created.
Yeah.
Whether it's through entrepreneurial efforts like opening up your own business, grants, funding, plans. There has to be a plan. And there are pieces of plans. And the TDA excites me because they have to have a plan.
Yep.
Right? That is the mission statement, right? So having a plan is exciting, but we need more planning rapidly. It's just like you were talking earlier. You got a labor problem. You could use more deputies. You could use more kids in law enforcement. There's needs here. There's opportunity for jobs if folks put forth the work and effort.
How is the sheriff's department in terms of staff? And I know kind of about the Spruce Pine Police. They're short about 3, I think.
So for a while there, at one point in time, we had 4 openings. We've done a pretty good job of recruiting and bringing people in to fill the spaces we have. We have a little turnover happening right now, but I think we've got those positions filled back up finally.
That's awesome.
It took a little hunting around, but because we just don't have the people going into the profession. I'll tell you
How
for
does
example,
somebody do that? I mean, is it still like BLET at Malin's? That's still the process?
Mayland has a BLET class starting really soon, and if somebody wants to go through, if you will go talk to Dana, come talk to Donald at the sheriff's office, they can get you pointed in the right direction, and you're going to have to hustle, but it can be done. We've got one going in right now that will come out and work here, probably for us here at the sheriff's office. But just to show you how sparse it is, Hickory PD is coming to recruit at our small Mayland BLET class.
Wow.
The first night of class. They're coming to try to recruit people to sign contracts and come work there when they graduate.
Wow.
It's sparse.
I heard Tennessee is paying their state troopers like
$100,000.
$90K or
$100,000 in
$100,000 starting
Tennessee.
pay to incentivize people That's crazy.
Yeah, Ralph was talking about that. Like,
I mean, that's great, but that's holy cow.
It's a tough job, and it's tough to be married to somebody in that profession.
Right.
So
Sure.
Yeah. You do it here because you love and you really enjoy the people you're around and in your community, and you want to do things to help it. It's still not a money thing here.
Yeah.
As much as I would love for it to be, you'd think might get a better raise there, but
no.
we have a lot of good people that
That was slick. That was slick. I like that. That was slick.
We have a really good sheriff's office right now. We have a lot of people that really care deeply about the community and are involved.
Agree.
We have a younger sheriff's office. I say that. I was the youngest person there. Colby Silvers was for years and years. And now there's a lot of younger 20s guys, and I
You're just
feel like an
getting
old dude
old.
now. I'm a middle-aged dude at the sheriff's office comparatively. So, we're
So if somebody's just like, I'm out of high school, interested in law enforcement, should they just call Donald, reach out to the sheriff's department, get information? How does that work?
Yeah, come talk to us. Come by the sheriff's office. Sit down. Somebody will talk to you. We will be there. We're there just about always. Somebody's there Monday through Friday in the office, unless something horrendous is going on. So
Yeah.
So high schools still do, and it's been a very long time since high school. They still do like job fairs where you guys go to the school and talk to somebody in your graduation and do that with law enforcement. Okay.
they do.
That's
don't
interesting.
typically put my face there. So,
Sure. No, I understand. Not with your position, for sure. For sure. But I mean, like, thinking about your Mountaineer Festival, that's something, if you're not already doing this, maybe you reach out to like the All-Techs, the employers of the place where you got a bunch of people showing up, maybe start having some recruitment booths or something offered up.
We have several positions open at Sabelco,
Really?
just at my plant. The one
You're just like doing the round rosy over there, aren't
Yeah.
you? What
Yeah.
you just recently accepted a different position, didn't you?
I accepted a job in the lab, so I'm going back to
Back to the
going
lab.
Back to the lab, yeah. So there's going to be
back to the.
there'll be 5 jobs open at my plant.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Now, I
you'd
know
think
the-
Sabelco, of all people, would not have a problem
Dude.
Well,
filling
the Carter's
jobs.
Ridge plant, they're building offices, doing construction, adding
Yeah,
on,
they're adding on a big leaching
They are.
plant there, and yeah,
which is interesting because they went through a huge shrink process labor-wise just under a year ago.
yeah,
But that's the nature of corporate. Hey, I know how this stuff works.
yeah, yeah.
They do that. It seems like all the time. It's shrink, go big, then
A lot of companies do that
bring
because
people
what
back
you
on.
do, if you have a down
Based
year,
on
you
projections,
cut
yeah.
your overhead to increase your margins and increase your number of
Yeah.
EBITDA, and then you start getting more investment or get more dollars or leverage your debt, and then hire a bunch of people the next year.
Well, I know they're opening up. So I saw that Duncan track up here on Tempe Mountain. They've blown that wide open here in the last little bit too. So it's good.
Yeah.
Harley, what else is going on? What else are we going to highlight? I know we're getting towards about an hour and a half or hour and 40 here.
I don't know. That covered most of my topics except for the upcoming events.
Well, go
So-
give us some upcoming events. Everybody needs to know what's.
All right. Like we spoke about earlier, the free adoptions for Friday and Saturday this week. This weekend, there's Maggie's Ride. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
I'm not. What is that?
Do you want to elaborate, Jimmy?
So what I understand is it is a motorcycle ride. I don't know who Maggie is, but it was a fundraising in memory of
That is correct.
of Maggie, and it's similar. I know that they were a couple years ago. Did kind of like for those who ride, like a poker run kind of thing is what they were going to do. But now I know it's a fundraising effort, and that's all.
Brandon and Amy Young.
That's right.
Their daughter had passed away, and so they
That's
do
right.
this every year as a fundraiser and a memorial to honor her. And all the money generated, I believe, goes to help fund the students that will graduate of that class for college.
Yep.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, and you don't have to have a motorcycle. You can do a car or just whatever. Anything.
Sweet.
They do a
So-
neat route. Everybody stops and hangs out and does some fun stuff along the way. So
And
Yeah.
raffles,
Yeah.
raffles, all kinds
Cool.
of good stuff. So
Cool.
if you're looking for something fun to do, you should definitely. Everybody's invited. It's a good group of people. Brandon and Amy are very, very good people.
Oh, they're
so-
great people. I
Oh,
know
speaking of the
them both.
county,
You
and I've
know,
neglected to mention this all night, but Friday Night Lights is back. Mitchell County football's first game
Yes.
is Charlotte. So it's Charlotte Latin this Friday, and then the first home game's a week from Friday.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Let's go.
which We're going to talk about that, but I got some ideas.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll
if
come
you-
back to that.
If you have not been up to that stadium and saw that new turf
It's
field,
gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
It really is. That was a good get for us.
Keep your calendars open a week from Friday is all
Yeah.
I'm saying. If you have to come in late, I got some ideas.
Nice.
Okay.
Let's go.
Some ideas. I might have a big shoulder strap with an iPad, but something. I got some ideas. Doing play-by-play with an iPad.
So also this weekend, if you're into beach music or learning how to shag dance,
Yes.
apparently we've got 2 weekends back to back, so people can shag.
Yep. What's that band called? Band of Oz?
Band of Oz. Right?
This
It's next
weekend.
week.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Next weekend.
no,
2 weeks out.
2 weeks out.
Yeah, that's September
Labor Day
1st,
weekend,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but this weekend at Bowman from 4 to 6:30, there's a band and it's free. So everybody likes free events. Like we spoke about earlier, also the Popular Car Show is next weekend. Then the next weekend after that is the Band of Oz. They'll be playing from 7 to 10. And that is an event put on by the Chamber. I think Mandy's worked very
Yep,
hard
she has.
to get that going. So
Mandy straight up hustled.
I know they're real excited about that one. That's another opportunity if you didn't get a chance to go down there for the Gym Fest to get in and check out the
That's
old
at the beach.
Coliseum blast from the past.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, then moving on to September 23rd is the Carolina Mountain Truck Show. That is an event down in Poplar. And so I believe that one's sponsored by Peterson Trucking. And so all the proceeds to that goes to St. Jude's, I believe, or one of those good organizations.
Yep.
I think this is be the 5th year that they've done it, maybe? 5th or 4th or 5th. But that's always a good event. Then leading us into October the 7th, that is the Barbecue and Bluegrass Festival at Riverside Park. So that's always a fun one. I always get the barbecue from the Parkway Fire Department. They do a really good
Yes,
job.
they
I
do.
agree.
Mm.
They do a good job.
That's Tom Freeman's
Well,
barbecue, and you
Tom
about
is
can't beat that.
He's
son.
a master now.
He is
A lot
a
of
master.
people ask me about Toe Jam. I just no longer have the time.
It's
I'm on
tough.
the road. Well, and I travel. I mean, all the time. I'm not. I'm not saying it won't happen again, but I don't have the time to be involved. So not. I mean, that's why I stepped away from the Alien Festival. It's just there's just time I don't have, and I have these things called family, too.
Yeah, those are pesky
I remember
obligations,
Come
aren't
on,
they?
a stranger in my house, like, who are you? I'm your wife. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I forgot you were still here.
Why is my key not working anymore? Is this my house?
And then I know we were talking. I know Halloween's
Yes.
going to happen again this year.
I did
so
talk to Gina.
Yes, I've been talking to Gina too. We're definitely going to do some promotional stuff for that for sure. So
So, Bulladine does their apple butter making on October the 14th. And speaking of Bulladine, they just recently opened their fitness center.
Dude, have you
so-
seen the photos?
no, I have not.
Incredible. Like, top of the line weight gear. Like, I wish I lived in Bulladine.
Well, that makes me real excited about that.
and the
Gooch.
fitness center's free.
Yeah.
They just they've got some funding secured to have fitness managers in there, and super excited.
That's awesome. How important is that?
I mean, I think that it's been a long time coming, and that board has took a lot of time and effort to get it cleaned up and to get it going for the community. And so they've got tons of volunteers, and so kudos to all of them for their hard work.
No, that's
'cause
awesome.
It was not an easy task, but everybody up there seems to be pretty happy.
And it is top of the line.
Was that part of the same funding and stuff that came in for the Googe project for the recreation center or anything? You have any idea?
I don't really know
Right.
about their funding stream. I just know that they've been working their tail ends off to get
Yeah.
it up
Had
and
some
going.
killer bake sales in Bulladine.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude.
Some money back. It was $30,000. I think they got
Maybe during
from the state
COVID.
during COVID that they used to put towards that too. So
Well, thank God the state of North
It's
Carolina
super cool.
funding, actual fitness and health instead of just screaming at everybody to wear a mask and take a vaccine. Oh,
But-
sorry, won't get into that.
You and I are in agreement, though.
Yeah.
And I love that they funded it with a bake sale.
Hey, now.
That's just speculation.
So what you do is you get fat eating the baked goods, and then you go and work it off.
It's the
It
circle of
comes
life.
full
kind
circle.
of thing.
Seems
Right,
like a
right.
revenue stream to me.
Exactly.
Hey, if you don't have a market, create one. Eat a lot of cholesterol. We put it in a fitness center. You want a pie cookie? Wait a minute, there were cookies here tonight. I see.
Yeah, they got
narcotics,
gone quickly.
cookies. I'm starting to see how this all works.
So the last two things on there is if art is your thing, the Spruce Pine Potters Market is the 14th and the 15th. That always seems to bring a lot of people in.
Have you ever been to Ed Whitson's building?
I have not.
It's really cool. It's
Really?
cool to go check out. It's really neat. We got some talented folks.
Oh, yeah, well,
I mean,
you can't
there's
ever
not
forget
just a
that.
bunch of beautiful ashtrays. You know, I mean, it's actually really good stuff.
Bongs and bowls. and
I've
stuff.
heard people say that. I've heard people, I ain't gonna go look at a bunch of ashtrays made up of Pinland.
No.
Like, no, look, stop. Go look.
Right.
It's super cool.
I couldn't do it. I'm not artistic at all. So
I actually throw clay when I throw clay. Like I literally throw it.
Yeah.
Throw it against the wall.
I'm not making it like that terminology.
My
No, it's
mom,
cool.
my mom gave me a bunch of when they sold their house. She gave me a bunch of the pottery and stuff that she had collected over the years for stuff, just because she didn't have room for it anymore. It's pretty cool, man. There's some really, really talented people around here. Very, very
It'd be
talented.
nice if the county could learn how to attach themselves to some of that state funding that pours into Pinland College.
Oh God.
It's locked up tight. Isn't it?
So, and then the last thing, obviously, is the Mountaineer Festival. So I would love to see you guys there if you just want to come and video
Yeah.
and walk around or compete. Can you throw an axe or chop a log or?
We'll have to check cellular coverage, but HollerCast Live would be good.
Oh,
Yep. It would.
Be good.
We had that. That was the oddest thing at that Alien Festival. It was like we couldn't get them things where I think it was just so many people.
Yeah.
Well, it's that in downtown, the rock. That's all a big rock. All of Upper and Lower Street's big rock just sucks the signal out of the air.
I
It really
don't know
does.
what it is.
Cell phone service is terrible. You can have it like on Link Street. You can be walking from lower to upper and it just disappears.
Yeah,
But if
yeah.
you hold one arm up in the air and stick your foot out, you get cell service to make a call.
Create a bridge
Exactly.
between the energies or whatever. Yeah. Well, anything else?
No. Well, actually, yes. So at our meeting on Monday, I wanted to kind of get the word out about this, and you will hear us talk about it more. There was a gentleman that came and spoke to us. His name was Jeff Brooks, and he spoke about a CAB grant. But basically, it's going to be offering internet to areas that cannot get internet. So basically, my understanding, and it is very limited knowledge on the internet, but they can run lines run the internet lines on the power line, so it's not like digging.
Yeah. Yeah, it goes across the electrical.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we just got information about that. So if you have any interest or questions, reach out to our county manager. But we're going to try to make sure that some of the areas that don't have internet can get
I'm getting it.
Everyone from Pigeon Roost, please go to this meeting.
Yes, it's very
Because
important.
my next stop is Pigeon Roost because I want to get more remote. And I just got to have internet out there.
But we need the community's engagement for these projects so that we can get recognized.
come out and show their support.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I can even give them
Everybody
some
go to the
dates.
meeting next week and get internet.
So, but that was the last thing.
Sweet. Well, man, it's been a pleasure, and we'll have to do this again sometime. I feel like there's about 5 different subjects we could probably do a whole
Oh yeah.
whole ep on.
Real
for sure.
quick, any more public service announcements like the you did about the first aid or the CPRs or any other announcements that in general you'd like to give from a law enforcement standpoint?
Well, I was going to say, John and Ashley have been going and talking to groups about drugs.
Yeah.
So in that capacity,
We have our community narcotics awareness program that we developed. We're willing to come to churches, civic groups. We've done it for youth groups, and just recently, my most recent presentation, I went to Duke and talked to their linemen about how they can kind of keep themselves safe because they're going in and around some unsavory places at houses, and just need to know what they're looking for and you know how they can keep their people safe. But we're more than happy to come do that if you'll call and schedule it through the sheriff's office. We'll show up.
I assume they don't call 911 for that. They
No.
actually call the
No.
sheriff's office.
It'll be 828-688-3982, and that is the non-emergency line for the Mitchell County Sheriff's Office. That'll get you in touch. Just try to call that Monday through Friday business hours, so that we have a receptionist at least there so they can take your call. But
That's awesome.
for sure,
I-
reach out.
I appreciate you sharing that because I was going to ask earlier, like the drug problem. How do we combat that? Is education still the best way? I mean, and
knowledge
that's
is
why I asked
power,
that.
brother.
It is.
Education
Knowledge is
and know
power.
where your kids are.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Unfortunately, a lot of the people that we're dealing with substance abuse are starting at a young age.
Got it.
Know where your kids are. Get them involved in civic organizations, 4-H, FFA, anything that you can do to keep them occupied, and just be aware. Talk to your kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great message.
Foster that family and that sense of community.
It's great to hear you guys are willing to go talk to church groups and all that stuff. I hope if anybody hears this, share it with churches. That'd be great to get involved. Outreach is everything.
Absolutely.
So you never know if you touch one kid, it's worth it, right? One person.
Yeah. If all I ever do is save somebody, that's good enough for me.
Agreed.
But yeah, reach out if you have questions or concerns, or you know your neighbor's dealing dope, or somebody's competing against you. I will
Report the competition.
Yeah, report the competition. I'll take them down. No, I'm coming for you next, but I'll get them too.
Business is business.
Business is business, boys.
Well, thank you guys so much for being here. It's a pleasure,
Been fun.
absolute
Thank you.
pleasure, and it's good to hear about that other. We focus so much on spruce pine and all this stuff, because that's where we're specifically involved in.
Do I got 1 minute to do a vibe check?
Yeah, let's go for it.
let's
Dude.
do it.
Go
So
for it.
you don't know about this, but what I like to do is, since you guys are here, we got a bigger group. I like to ask a question, and you've got to give a one-word answer, maybe two. Let's say one, but loose. One-word answer to the question, and it's typically about sometimes politics, sometimes the state of business in town. So, and we just go around the room. Everybody gives their one-word answer. So, this is going to be a little easy one, and I'll start with Josh.
Okay.
So the first question is, one word to describe the drug problem in Mitchell County.
Hi.
Okay.
Ooh, that's
Chase.
a good one. That's pertinent, and concerning.
Okay. John, one word, if you can give one.
Let's see. It is complicated.
Oh, great,
Yeah,
great.
that's a good one.
And that is so true.
I was gonna say education, so education.
Okay, education. I'll say beatable.
I agree with that.
Beatable. Never going to go away. We can manage it.
Yeah.
There's the complicated part of it.
Never going to go away.
Yeah.
Never going to go. Okay. We'll go the other side of the spectrum. Other side of the spectrum. Weirdest thing you've ever seen in Mitchell County?
Weirdest thing I've ever
It's safe for a listening audience.
Right.
Non-vulgar.
Well, there was a midget name. No. Weirdest thing I've seen in Mitchell.
That's kind of a hard question.
It is.
One word. You do 2 words. Do 2 words. Do 2 words. Or 3. 3. We'll make it 3 because it could be blank, blank, blank.
Weirdest thing I've ever seen in Mitchell County. A cobra.
Ah, good. Let's make this one. Let's make this one a sentence because
Okay.
it's going to be hard to say. Your
Yeah.
your cobra is that. I don't like it being in Mitchell County. I'm just going to say that for the record. Chase, go ahead. We'll make this in a sentence. Weirdest thing you ever seen in Mitchell County?
I remember when we were growing up, we took this is more in a sentence, but
That's fine.
Aaron,
Go ahead.
Aaron, Buchanan had
Yep.
the music
Cheapskates,
venue,
yep.
yeah, Cheapskates downtown. That's when before the fire and all that stuff. We had a couple of these punk rock bands roll in, and they were Christian bands, like Christian label bands or whatever. But boy, they were tatted from head to toe. And we rolled in to Western Sizzling like about 12:30 on a Sunday morning.
Hey, those tatted guys were in there.
That was quite a sight to behold
That's
to see that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Floating orbs at Hefner Gap.
Okay.
There you go.
That's a good one. Harley.
Someone walking down the street dark at night in a Mickey Mouse costume.
Okay. That rivals mine.
I didn't think anybody saw me.
An elderly, mostly naked man on a unicycle going across the bridge in town.
I didn't think anybody saw me.
I said elderly. You might have had a white-haired wig on, and it was not me. It was many, many years ago when I was a kid.
Really?
He was in a thong.
Wow.
He was an elderly man in a thong on a unicycle. Yep, middle of the day.
Holy crap.
Yeah, I've seen some strange stuff. Dad can tell stranger stuff than that. But all right, this will be the last question. Since we got people from the north end of the county, and I'll start with you, Harley, on this one. One word to describe the north end of the county.
Just one word.
Just one, two. You can do one or two.
I think it's beautiful.
It's
I think
beautiful.
we live in one of the most beautiful places in the world. And,
Agreed.
you know, whenever I was very much younger, I moved away and I was like, I would never come back here. And then life happens and you realize you're stupid.
Been there, done
and
that.
you grow up
Been there,
and
done
then
that.
you realize how beautiful Mitchell County actually is. So I would
tell-
say beautiful.
I like that. I tell people I spent my entire childhood trying to get away from here, and I spent my entire adult life trying to get back.
Yes, I agree.
So
I think.
go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
but
you're
y'all
good.
go ahead.
Recreational opportunities.
Oh, sweet. God, you got the best answers tonight. He wins the prize. Chase?
Quiet and dark. And I say that in the most positive light.
Dude.
I love that.
The Roan High Bluff at about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning is one of the coolest places
I
on earth to
know.
be. The walk back to your car after you leave there, not the coolest place to be. The bluff is awesome. I've done that many times
Yeah.
back there. The blizzard of 93, one of the second times I broke my leg, I decided to go snowboarding during the blizzard, and I had a little Subaru Impreza, and I went up to the bluff first, tried to snowboard through it's just crap. So then I went up on the Roan High, the bald,
Yeah.
and came down, and I hit a tree and snapped my leg,
Oh my god.
and I had and it was bent because I had all the nails and stuff in it.
Oh, my
then I had to
God.
drive all the way to Johnson City Medical Center. I'm like passing out and stuff. But
Make me
anyway.
pass out.
Anyway,
Oh my god.
all right, your word.
The north end of the county. I know.
It's kind of a hard question.
It is. It is.
I'm kidding. You don't go there enough, obviously.
No,
We've
I
established
don't.
that.
I don't. No, man. Need cell phone service.
Ah, that is a good one. That is
Yeah.
3 words,
or
but
internet.
yeah,
Cell phone
it needs
service.
internet.
I'd say breathtaking. I love it up there. I love that all the pieces of that end of the peanut that is Mitchell County.
Let me ask you, as people that live out there, I just have to ask this because I forgot. Do you feel like the north end of the county gets neglected?
I'll say whatever's best for the north end isn't going to be what's best for this end. You know, there's different needs for each part of the county, and so what's best for Spruce Pine is not going to be what's best for Beulah Dean. And so I always try to step back and look at that and assess each part of the county. So I wouldn't
Heard.
say necessarily neglected, but there's,
It's just different.
realistically,
Yeah.
It's just different, but like, I know that I hear people say, well, we want something else on the north end. Well, tell me what you want. Like, you're a Walmart, that's not going to happen.
Right.
Like, that's not realistic, but I think that the needs are just different. So
Right.
I wouldn't say necessarily neglected, but
Are they still screaming about Walmart? They got a Dollar
I
General
don't
in freaking
know.
Beulah
No, they
Dean.
haven't been screaming about Walmart. I'm just using that as an example.
I know what you're saying.
But I use that Dollar General a lot.
Yeah. Hey.
Sure.
Hey.
I think it's more been a feeling of underrepresentation. Man, I think typically you don't see as many people out and about doing what Harley's doing, and getting involved. Whether it be with government or otherwise,
Right.
from the north end of the county.
And you're not talking about necessarily on the county commission, but on the other stuff.
Yeah, other
yeah.
stuff. And
Yeah.
So I feel like maybe that's where some of it's come from. But like Harley said, it's different places. It's
You're dealing with two different.
yeah.
things.
You can't treat one ailment with one salve.
Yep.
That's true.
So
Yep. That's true.
Cool.
All right.
Sweet.
Listen, people, thank you for being here. We appreciate you being here. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification icon. It really, really helps us out. Buy our merch, of which Josh is a shameless promoter. Yes. And all the money lines his pocket. So you should just know that. No, that stuff
$7.
really does help us out. And we'd mentioned earlier, we're trying to reach out to some some higher profile, more national guests. We found out today, we didn't get into this today.
Yeah.
We found out today that Oliver Anthony, the guy that is now the top of the streaming charts, has a connection to Spruce Bones. Me and Harley both reached out to him, me for the podcast and her for the festival. And, it's stuff like that. It's, the more likes and subscribes that we can get to a point where we can monetize this more, and we can start to look at having some more high profile guests. Yep. We want to bring those people to you, but you have to find yourself in that echelon, and an audience really helps.
It does. Well, not just that, but obviously if this gets monetized more, the production value will go up.
Yep. Absolutely.
Because this stuff costs a lot of money.
Yes, it does.
A lot of money.
Yes, it does. Well, thank you for joining us. We appreciate all you guys. We love all you guys, and good night.
See you.